Hi everyone, Alysa here. Before we get started today, I wanted to provide a warning for today's topic. This is the second episode in the series of episodes dedicated to Veronica Mars, Marshmallows, and Friendship, which is all of July 2019, leading up to the season 4 premiere on July 26. So much like last week, there are some storylines that I wanted you to know about before we get started today. So you'll hear my guest Meredith and I talk about the storyline where Veronica is raped, and we'll also talk about a storyline about boys who are molested. And I just wanted all of you to know what you would hear. There won't be great detail, but they will be mentioned throughout the episode. So do what you need to protect yourself, friends. You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more in your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendships. I'm Alysa Lucas, and I am deep in my rewatch of Veronica Mars, and to the point where I don't know if I'm doing anything else except waxing nostalgia about one of the greatest TV shows of all time.
Seriously.
So it's a good thing that this is the second episode and the month completely dedicated to Veronica Mars, all those marshmallows out there, and friendships. So for this episode, to talk about season 2 of Veronica Mars, I'd like to welcome my friend Reno and fellow marshmallow, Meredith. Hi,
Meredith. Hi. Hello.
There she is, coming from across the internet.
Yes, across the internet, the state, and everywhere in between.
Yes, there she is. So Meredith and I met because we both listened to the podcast My Favorite Murder, which I've talked about before on here. And what's really neat about Meredith is 2 years ago, or over 4th of July, she hosted a Murder Con event.
I think that's what it was called, the Mitten Murder Con.
Yes, because it's for Mitten Murderinos. Those are people in Michigan who enjoy My Favorite Murder. And you hosted strangers in the backyard of your house for a camp out.
Yeah, I just said, hey, I don't know any of you, but come on over. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. Let's do it.
And it was absolute fun. We toured what is the hospital there in Traverse City?
Well, it's the Commons now, Building 50.
Yes.
The Old State Hospital, yeah.
The Old State Hospital, that was creepy.
Creepy.
We told the stories around the campfire. We had good food. It was a lot of fun. And it's the kind of camping I like to do because it's like not too long. There's good food. You go do other things around the camping site. And then there's a porta potty.
There was a porta potty and a bathroom and a full kitchen.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of in between camping and glamping, right?
Yep. It's perfect. And I mean, I totally stayed inside my house. I didn't even camp. But
you invited other people to go camping.
Exactly. I was like, hey,
I'm going to just call it a night like I usually do.
I'm going to sit with my air conditioning in my bedroom and we'll go from there.
I think that's cheating.
It was 100% cheating, but I'm fine with it.
But it was great. Yeah, that's when we met Meredith. And when I say we, like I went up there with my bestie, Kate, and we met. And there was like 15 or so of us, I think.
I think so, yeah.
That sounds about right. And it was super fun. And so got to meet someone else who's into My Favorite Murder, but then also discover that Meredith is also a marshmallow.
Yeah.
Just like all of us other Veronica Mars fans. So can you tell me a little bit? I'm going to ask some questions about Veronica Mars, but I was wondering, how did you watch it when it was first on, or how did you come about watching Veronica Mars? Do you remember?
I was actually thinking about that today because it used to be on Netflix, and I've had Netflix, I think, since like 2009.
Nice.
When it was only sending like one disc at a time, and sometimes like you could yeah, I know. So you could watch, or you could get 2 discs at a time for like $9.99 a month.
Nice.
And I got in this awesome system where I would like watch it as quickly as possible, send it back, and then they'd send you another one in like a day. So I think I started watching in like 2010.
Yeah.
And I obviously binge watch it, and I had no idea what it was about besides Kristen Bell was in it.
Who I
And I
love.
was like, she's awesome.
She's
Why don't
awesome. A
we?
Michigander. Michigan
Yeah.
folks.
They're
Holla.
actually they've been in Michigan for a couple weeks now in St. Joe vacationing,
I'm
which is
sorry.
weird,
Hi, Kristen
right?
Bell. Feel free to give me.
And not only is Kristen Bell here, but I believe the men who play Logan and Dick are also
I'm
in
sorry,
St.
Ryan
Joe with
Hansen
them.
and Jason Doringer.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
Ice
believe
J.
they're all on vacation in St. Joe right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to go.
We have to leave right now and just drive over.
You all have seen season 2. Figure out the friendship stuff on your own.
It's no big deal. No big deal at all.
No big deal. But yeah, that's what I hear is that like they're all good friends in real life. And that's really cool because Veronica Mars didn't just bring all of us together to talk about it on this podcast or all these different groups. And some people probably make friends because you watch it together. Veronica Mars brought those actors together to become friends too. And how cool is that? It's amazing.
Awesome.
I love it.
It's so awesome.
I'm so glad they're friends. That's so cool.
Me too. Me too. When I discovered them on Instagram, like always hanging out together and doing birthday parties and cookouts. And I was like, that's what true friendship is.
You know, that's right. And we approve 1000% on this podcast.
Exactly.
So who is your favorite character from the TV series? I mean, I think Veronica is a given, and maybe I'm wrong in assuming that, but she's my favorite. Love her. But then additionally, who are your favorite characters?
Obviously I like Wallace and Mac because they're all kind of spunky and sassy, but also really real, I think. But I love Weevil.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I heard you say that you loved him in the last episode, and it's just, there's something about him that's, I think, super charming.
Yes.
As well. And I don't know if it's the bad boy charming or if it's really his authenticity that makes him charming.
Yeah. It's like the bad boy with the heart of gold. And I think Leslie and I talked about that last week, like both Logan and Weevil have it, but in different ways. And I actually discovered, because I gave it a shout out at the end of the last episode, there is a group for those who watch Veronica Mars, and so a crossover group that like Veronica Mars and My Favorite Murder is called Marshmallows. And so, yeah, right? Get on there immediately. Well, after we record. And then
right.
I'll go to St. Joe. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Just show up with the mic. Hey, guys.
Hey, I'm doing a podcast about you guys this month, a whole month.
Can I get in here? Like,
yeah, it's fine. It's totally normal.
Yeah, so on that, though, someone mentioned, they posted that Francis Capra, who plays Weevil, was the little kid Calogero in A Bronx Tale, and I about flipped out because that is one of my favorite movies of all time. The kid is so precious, and then I was like, no wonder he's Calogero. He's got that swagger. No wonder he's Weevil, and I can't believe I didn't know. And now every time I see him, funny. Like, oh, it's Calogero.
Well, then I like every time he pops up on a different show, because he's always like these little side supporting characters and whatever. And every time I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a Weevil.
I love Weevil. Well, and here's the thing. So I talked about how much I love Wallace and Weevil last week. And I was like, wait a minute. I have 3 more episodes of people where I'll be asking them their favorite characters. And so I was like, okay, I'll reveal another favorite character each week. And I've already mentioned him, but one of my favorite characters is Dick Casablancas, played by Ryan Hansen. And he is 110% made to play Dick Casablancas.
Oh, yeah.
His ability to deliver lines. One of my favorite things, I posted in the group on Facebook, one of my favorite things is that he calls Veronica Ronnie.
Yes.
I don't know. There's just like the way they talk to each other, the way he says lines. And he does horrible things. So does Weevil. Like pretty much everyone on the show does kind of horrible things at one time or another. But he's hard to hate. And
he is so hard to hate.
Because he's not that, and I think Logan gets at this throughout the series, not just in season 2, which we'll talk about today, but I feel like Dick Casablancas' character he's very simple, he's very straightforward, he's not complicated, and so some of what he does that is not good, I can see as being understanding in some ways. It doesn't excuse it, but it goes, okay, some of the decisions that he makes might be because he isn't complicated.
Right.
And so, gosh, yeah, he's hard to hate. Love Ryan Hansen. I would watch
Mhm.
anything he's in, and it doesn't matter the character's name. I'll be like, it's Dick.
Did you watch his YouTube series?
I did.
I haven't watched it, and
Yeah.
I was worried to watch it because I didn't
No,
want it. Is it good?
everything he does is good. What are you talking
Okay.
about? He's
I mean, I just
forever Dick Casablanca. So
he really is.
yeah. So besides Veronica Mars, do you have any other, well, we talked about My Favorite Murder, but do you have any
Mhm.
other fandoms, TV series, movies, books, whatever the case? What other fandoms do you really love and spend a lot of time with?
I mean, so people can't judge me, but I have been watching Grey's Anatomy since I was in high school.
Yeah, that's a
And
true
I have,
commitment.
it is really a true commitment. I was talking to my sister the other day and she's like, you still watch that? And I was like, yes, I have to see it through to the end.
Yeah.
And we're going on season 16, so I'm ready for it.
That's amazing. I actually stopped originally. So I watched it when it was first run, and I'm a little bit older than you. So I wish I started watching it in high school. But
Seriously.
I think I started watching it in college, maybe in graduate school.
Yeah.
But I stopped watching it at the ferry episode because I was like, how many times can they kill Meredith? And we're in season 3. You know, I was like,
Right.
what's going on? And then I rewatched it in 2015 and I loved it. And I got past the ferry episode and I'm like a season behind. And so I just kind of wait for it to come on Netflix and then I'll binge it. So
Oh,
you're
the
not
new
getting
season.
judged by me. And
Thank you
I
so much.
often talk about Meredith Grey as a central character that people are connected to, much like Kristen Bell is Veronica Mars.
Right.
That is why we love shows so much, is because of characters like that and because of the work that the actresses do to breathe life into their characters. And
Most
so
definitely.
I can judge that. I can judge
That's
that
good.
at all.
And this is probably weird, but I've been watching Wayne's World since I was like 7 years old. I recently purchased the Popco figures
Oh yeah,
of
nice.
Wayne and Garth. Yeah. So that is really like, it's my go-to
I love it.
movie. I quote it actually on a daily basis.
You know, I didn't know about you, Meredith, and it makes me appreciate you even more. I saw that on opening night when I was 14, and I had that entire movie memorized. And me and my brother Michael would annoy my mom at the dinner table by doing "Got $5,000, $5,000," and just now I could be like, "Got $5,000." My brother will start doing it, and my mom's like, "Oh, you guys."
I do the Foxy thing also in person, which is really fun for people who don't know what Wayne, like have never met Wayne's World, and I tell them I can't be friends with them anymore.
Well, next time I see you, I know how I'm going to greet you.
Exactly. Just do a little squat with your hands up.
See,
it works. It works perfectly.
So this is great. I'm learning new things. I love asking these kind of questions, but you know, we need to dig into Veronica Mars because that is our fandom of today. But I learned from Leslie last week that she's going to need to come back and do Bill and Ted's. And now I realize you're going to come back and have to do Wayne's World. So put that on the calendar.
Yes.
But today it's all about Veronica Mars. And so we are talking about season 2. And to sort of set it up in sort of the mood of it, I'll start with my quote, then I'll ask you to share your quote that gets us in the mood for season 2. So, okay, so this is a voiceover because Veronica does that. And this says, so this is how it is. The innocent suffer, the guilty go free, and truth and fiction are pretty much interchangeable. There's neither a Santa Claus nor an Easter Bunny, and there are no angels watching over us. Things just happen for no reason and nothing makes sense. And so I think that reflects sort of all the trouble that comes in season 2. But I love your quote. It's so simple. Just share it with us.
So Wallace, we're going to talk about this soon, but she's talking to Wallace and Veronica says, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. And I can just see her
with their hands
fisting her, pulling her arm back in a fist.
Yeah, because she's taking the summer off, right? She's not Veronica Marsing during the summer, but first day of school, once you know, there's still trouble in Neptune. And always, there's too many secrets and lies in Neptune. So I'm going to do the recap so people understand what's going on. I'm going to give a little bit of a reminder of season 1. And Meredith, anytime you want to add or correct anything, please let me know.
Okay.
As you might recall, we met Veronica in season 1 after a number of traumatic life changes: a murdered best friend, a boyfriend who ghosted her, her alcoholic mother abandoned her, and completely rejected by the 09er social network. She makes friends with Wallace, Mac, and many others as she helps them solve the cases and mysteries that they have going on in their own life, while she's also trying to solve the case of what happened to her best friend, Lily. She's completely different than the Veronica we see in flashbacks now. And so we see in those flashbacks Lily, Duncan, and Logan. And it seems with perhaps after what happened that she kind of goes into this lone wolf mode. And maybe with the help of some of these new friends like Wallace and Mac, she isn't necessarily a lone wolf anymore. She might think she is, but she has friends, as Meg tells her in an episode in season 1. So the cliffhanger at the end of season 1 is amazing. After, spoiler alert, we're into season 2. So we figure out that Aaron Eccles, that MFer, is the one who murdered Lily. And Keith Mars has saved his daughter from a burning fridge that Aaron Eccles has put Veronica in. She is awoken at 3 a.m. and she seems to think, as she opens the door and she sees this shadowy figure, she says, like, I was hoping it was you. Yeah. And then she's like, Logan? So I think we're left to assume that she thought it was going to be Duncan, or that she at least hoped it was. So we see Logan and he is beaten up, and we learn that he has been beaten up by Eli's gang, the PCHers, and that's just the start of summer vacation.
Yes, what a start.
Yeah, I mean, as Meredith and I were talking about off mic, is that this season 2 gets even more complicated than season 1 was. So if you want to hang with us, we're not going to be able to cover everything. We'll do our best to recap here, and then we're going to talk about some specific friendships. And then my friend Courtney from Spoop Hour is going to record some bonus episodes and clips and things like that to fill in some of the gaps. So, okay, so first day of senior year, we go back to Meredith's quote. Just when I think I get away, you pull me back in. Wallace has been kicked off of athletics, as well as several other students have, for failing drugs tests that they didn't actually fail. So it's kind of like, say what now? So we learn in flashback a couple things that happened over the summer. Logan is accused of murdering Felix, a PCHer who is part of his attack on the bridge. And the town becomes even more divided in terms of 09ers and then non-09ers. And that's something we talked about last week, is that it's basically like lower class and upper class. There's no in between. And that divide has grown even more with this attack with Logan and Felix and that sort of thing. So people have really sort of drawn the line. And Veronica stands by him, though, as we discover that they're dating. So maybe she was happy to see him at her door.
Maybe.
Or maybe she thought that she might be able to help him through things. Maybe, change him a little bit, help him change.
As we all think we can change the bad boys.
Exactly. But he's got that heart of gold.
He does. It's just very deep in there.
Yeah, exactly. You just gotta wade through all the crap to get there. But it's difficult for them to date because obviously the biker gang hates them, and they are making out in Logan's car, and someone actually shoots through like their back or front window, I forget which, and she ends up breaking up with them because it's obviously way too much.
Yeah.
So we see Veronica to get a job that's not at Mars Investigation. She starts working at the Java Hut as a hostess. And Duncan, her boyfriend from back in the day, comes in every single day. And he says he's been coming in every single day before she started working there.
Sure.
Story. Yeah, exactly.
Sure, yeah.
Sure thing. By the time her birthday rolls around, which I believe is in the August range.
I believe so.
Duncan and her start dating, and it doesn't appear anyone is too happy about it per se. In fact, some of the students that were starting to be less scared of her or stop disrespecting her, so to speak, and were starting to respect her in the last year, saw the last year as a fake out, as if she was pretending to be not with the 09ers, and now she's back to dating Duncan, and she was dating Logan, that she's just someone who's just going to go with the rich boys if she can. So, God, a lot happened over summer.
My summers were never that busy.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that we had already discussed half the season. This is like the first 10 minutes of the episode. I mean, So we learn, so back to the first day of school, we learn that Meg, who was one of the only good people to Veronica, and Courtney and I have a bonus episode about Meg and Veronica's relationship online. We learned that Meg is unhappy with Veronica and Duncan. Duncan and Meg had been dating, and near the end of school, he broke up with her. And then on the first day of school, wouldn't you know, Veronica and Duncan are dating. And she's upset because Veronica is the one that helped her discover who her secret admirer was. That secret admirer was Duncan, and Veronica gave like blessings, like, yes, date him and that sort of thing. And they seemed really good for each other. Well, Duncan breaks up with Meg, and now he's back to dating Veronica. So I think that's, I mean, any of us would probably be a little bit upset or probably need a little bit of space until we can get used to it, if you will.
It seems a little harsh. From Meg's perspective, and I completely understand what she's thinking and what she's going through. Like, take your time,
we've
girl.
All probably been there. Even if it was someone like we had a crush on someone and then our friend starts dating him, there might just even be just some time to like get over it and accept it. It might not be any work you need to do with the two of them. It might just be work you need to do on your own. And so Meg is definitely taking that distance. There is a field trip on the second day of school, and they all ride on the bus, but Dick Casablancas complains about it stinking. And then they get to the field trip, which is the baseball stadium, and they meet a famous baseball player, and they get to talk to the owner, Buddy. It is all exciting. And the rich kids, Dick and Beaver, get a limo so that the 09ers can ride back to school in style and they don't have to be on the stinky bus. So Duncan goes on the limo, and Veronica tries to mend the very, what's the word I'm looking for? Mend the broken friendship with Meg.
Yes.
And they stop to get like snacks and stuff like that at a gas station. And they get back on the bus, and the teacher goes, "Is everyone here?" And Meg, probably looking for that distance, sees that Veronica isn't on the bus and goes, "Yep, all here."
All here.
All here.
I was like, why? I remember watching this the first time and wondering like what's going to happen. And I couldn't even imagine what actually happened.
So Veronica, because this is awful. So Veronica's off the bus. She's kind of arguing with Eli. The bus leaves, he leaves, and then he comes back, and she rides back with Eli. Even though they're fighting a little bit, he does give her a ride. And they come upon behind the limo. The limo pulls over. All the kids that were on the limo are running out of the car. And what we've discovered is that the bus has driven completely off a cliff into the water, and it appears that everyone on the bus has died. And it's like, oh my God. So Duncan is safe in the limo. That's where the Casablancas and all the other 09ers are. Veronica is safe on the back of Eli's bike. But Meg was on the bus, and we do learn later that not everyone did die. Meg is in a coma. And so this is where we have the season 2 mystery. Why did the bus drive over the cliff? Who would want to kill high school students on the bus? What is going on? And so much like the first season had the mystery of discovering who's Lily's killer was, and also Veronica trying to discover what happened to her when she was roofied, this is the mystery of season 2.
Yes. I mean, come on. What more could a person ask for in a season?
Oh my gosh, so much. And again, this is like episode 1. And
this is literally episode 1.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the friendship. So just as a reminder, we have some usual key characters, some that are from season 1, and then we have some new characters that I would like to introduce. So obviously we have Veronica and her dad, Keith, her best friends, Wallace and Mac. We have Eli, who's Weevil, Duncan,
Mhm.
Logan, Meg, Dick and Beaver Casablancas. I already mentioned Mac. And then we have some new characters. We meet new student Gia Goodman and her dad, Buddy. And her dad, Buddy, is played by Steven Guttenberg, if you're a fan of movies from the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like 3 Men and a Baby. Classic.
Oh, God, love that movie.
Yeah. So she's new to school. Her dad is running for like a mayor type position. I felt like it had a different name. And because
It's
he's
that
city something
supervisor or something like that.
Yeah. So it's like a local government position. And because he wants to show the people he is a man of the people, his daughter's no longer going to private school. She's going to attend the public school at Neptune. And because of this, she interacts with Veronica at school. And then Keith, Veronica's dad, does need to interact with Buddy. Buddy asks for him to run for sheriff again, to investigate different things going on. And so we see a number of interactions with Buddy and Keith. We meet another new student who me and Meredith have discovered offline that we don't like.
We do not. Nope, not at all.
We'll talk about why when we talk about the friendship. But we meet Jackie, a new student, and her dad, Terrence. Jackie, as we'll see, dates Wallace, and this at times becomes a challenge for Veronica and Wallace and for Jackie. And her dad is a professional player who is connected to the bus crash at some point in the season.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. 2 more things I'd like to say about other people, and then we'll get into it. Okay, so we meet Kendall Casablancas. This is Dick and Beaver's stepmom. She's young and played by the most wonderful Charisma Carpenter from Angel and Buffy and all the good stuff.
I love her.
She's so fantastic. And she is young and maybe presumed to be married to the Casablancas' father because of his money and status. We definitely see more of Dick and Beaver. Dick is one of Logan's best friends, and Beaver and Mac become love interests. And then Kendall is somewhat connected to, but we learn more that Neptune also has an Irish. Is mafia the right word, or is it a gang? I'm not really sure.
I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. So we have
the lines are blurred.
Yeah, the lines are blurred. The mafia / gang run by, it's the Fitzpatrick. So it's a group of people who might have some issues with the PCHers and with the 09ers and all other sorts of crime. So phew, that is what's going on in season 2.
It's crazy.
And before we get in there, I like to talk about some of our favorite quotes from season 2. So I have 2. One of my favorite ones, oh my gosh. One of the things I would say is, although we just talked about all that complicated stuff, they do such a good job storytelling and it's added into the mystery. We're trying to condense it down into a few minutes, right? To be able to talk about the friendships. But one of the things that's always consistent and constant is the snarkiness of Veronica. And that to me is still alive and well in season 2. So her and Logan are interacting, and Logan says, you have that I'd rather be making out with a broken bottle look, which if history serves means you're about to say something awkward. And Veronica says, this is my I'd rather be spelunking look. It's like you don't even know me at all.
I remember that. I love it so much.
It's so good. And then my second one, she's interacting with Beaver, whose car has Amber as a bitch and keyed on the side of his car. And Veronica goes, "Who's Amber?" He's like, "I don't know." And then Veronica goes, "They keyed the wrong car? How is Amber going to know that she's a bitch?"
It's so funny. I love it.
Goodness, I love it. Do you have a favorite quote, or do you just love them all?
I was watching it, but then I was looking online for different quotes, and I was trying to think of things that kind of just stood out to me. And there was one, I believe she was talking to Wallace about something, and she says to him, "Be cool, soda pop."
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites.
And I say that to my dog all the time. Like, I just and I have a dream that I teach him that when I say "be cool, soda pop," he just stops what he's doing. So I'm really working on it.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
Yes. And then I feel like this is kind of me, but Veronica says, if there's a justification for my actions right now, it's this. I've gone completely mad. And that right there, if that's not all of us, I feel like
yeah, seriously.
it is.
Well, and I just love that all our favorite quotes include Veronica because she's our witty queen of everything.
Yes, she is.
Maybe not always good at friendship.
Nope. Nope, she's not.
So, well, and sometimes she is. I think she forgets that she has friends sometimes, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, but she's also not a typical teenager, right? She's involved. There's a lot of major storylines going on. Like her best friend was murdered in season 1. And now you have the bus crash where one of her good friends, Meg, is in a coma. And then later we discover that someone who might have had something to do with the crash, part of the mystery, her name was written on his hand and he was found murdered. And so it's like, was she the reason why these people were killed? So a lot going on. So maybe she's like not going to the movies like normal teenagers do. But there's some things with friendship that are pretty important. And so I would like to first talk about the friendship of Veronica and Wallace in season 2.
I love them so much.
I do, but we do see them go through some challenges.
Yes, we do.
So
we definitely do.
The season starts out good though, and in the very first episode with the quote that you mentioned, that he is kicked off his basketball team because he failed a drug test, but he doesn't take drugs. So that is the first mystery that she's back into after summer.
Yeah.
He says to her, "So you'll help?" And Veronica says, "Do you even have to ask?" And so I think it's a reminder that she always has Wallace's back and that he doesn't necessarily need to ask for it, that she's always just going to be there. And in fact, she is asked by another athlete to take the case and she doesn't until it includes Wallace.
Right. And then he says, I think he says, confronts her afterwards and was like, "So you'll do it because of Wallace?" And she says, "Yeah."
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, like, I guess his point is, so you don't help people unless they matter to you. And there are people who need help, and she could definitely help people. But yeah, we're more inclined. We can't help everyone we come across, right? It's just, it would be impossible. And she is not someone, I mean, I don't remember what season is, but it's like, someone goes, "You don't like people. Why are you going to that?" And so for someone who has been rejected or is not trusting or for a whole host of other reasons, doesn't have the capacity to help all the people that ask for it. It's just not possible. And so, but to me, it's a sign that her and Wallace have a really good friendship because she's like, "For you, I'll do it. Yeah, absolutely. You don't even have to ask. It's not even a question. Tell me what you need to do." So it starts out great. And then we meet Jackie.
Oh my God.
Can you tell us what exactly about Jackie you're not fond of?
So she's a little bit of a biddy. She has a sassy attitude, but to me it's more mean than witty. And she seems slightly entitled. And so, like, because her dad is Terrence, she can do whatever she wants. He's a famous baseball player.
Yeah.
She gets what she wants. She does what she wants, and nobody gets in her way.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so angry. Just the first interaction.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, like, Veronica doesn't even meet Jackie right away. She's busy doing some stuff, and like irritated with the bus crash, like how people are reacting to it, and she's trying to help the child of the bus driver figure out if he's committed suicide or if he fell asleep. Like, what are the reasons why the bus would have gone off the cliff? And so she's busy. And so what Wallace does is take everything that he's learned from Veronica to help the new girl that he finds attractive, maybe wants to get to know more about. Like, he has a crush on Jackie. And so someone's hit her dad's car in the school parking lot, and she's trying to figure out what happened before her dad finds out. And Wallace Veronica Mars the situation. He takes
Yeah, he did.
He takes care of it. So it's almost like Jackie and Wallace are connected before Veronica is even introduced to her. And I think that because he has a crush on her, it's different than if someone is asking for help. Much like Veronica's more likely to help Wallace because he's her best friend. We're more likely to help people that we kind of have a crush on and that maybe we're trying to impress.
Weird. I would have never thought of that.
Fancy how that happens sometimes.
Weird.
And so I think that she comes in and maybe, like you said, the way that she behaves, some of it, and she admits to it as well, is that it's a little mean-spirited. And so maybe it just seems like she's snotty or she's going to, I think we're all protective of Wallace, and Veronica isn't even in the scene yet. And I'm already like, Jackie, you better not hurt Wallace.
No, not at all.
So I think as viewers, we're already protective and seeing like maybe some of these behaviors, she might be taking advantage of his help and those sorts of things. And then Jackie and Veronica meet.
Poof, you're a macchiato.
Oh gosh, yeah, they don't even meet with Wallace there. They meet at the Java Hut, and Veronica is a hostess and not a barista. And Jackie's like, she's on her, Veronica's on her break and she's talking to her boyfriend Duncan and they're talking about something. And she's like, when you're done breaking up, can you get me a macchiato? And she's like, she kind of does like these magic hands and she's like, there's your macchiato. And so they're already not happy with each other.
Yep.
And in some ways, she is a lot like Veronica, but I don't know. There's still like a spirit in Veronica, and let me know if you agree or not, but there's like this spirit of she was softer once, or she was more positive once, or she was optimistic once, and she still has that underlying wanting to help people and that sort of thing. And we don't know everything about Jackie, not even to like the last episode of the season. And so we don't have anything to go on, except what seems to be rude behavior. And so in a lot of ways, I think she's similar to Veronica, but we're just more endeared to Veronica.
Right. Because we've been there with her through her ups and downs and the loss of all her friends, and then gaining her basically two friends that she has. And you can say that Logan and Duncan are her friends, kind of, but it's not even close to what Wallace and Mac have with Veronica.
She definitely needs a Wallace in her life. She definitely needs a Mac in her life. And I think before when Lily was alive, that her and Logan were friends, and that, people often call like their romantic partners or friends, but you need more than that. And, and so maybe Veronica and Jackie could be friends, but then Jackie and Veronica have differing, I'm using the word agenda, but that sounds very manipulative. But they have different agendas with Wallace, right?
Yeah.
Wallace
most definitely
has a crush on Jackie, and then they end up dating. Veronica and Wallace are friends. They never have any interest in dating. So that's what I mean by agenda in terms of relationship type. So what are some of the challenges when you have cross-sex best friends and then you have a new partner coming in? Like, is Jackie right in being concerned about Wallace spending so much time with Veronica? Is Veronica right in her distaste for Jackie? What do you think?
Well, so I understand where Jackie is coming in, not knowing Wallace and Veronica's history, and seeing how much time they spent together and how close they are. And there's obviously going to be jealousy on her end.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be the same way if the guy that I was starting to date and really seemed to like had a best friend that was a female, and I don't really know anything about her, so I can't judge the situation.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's so hard. And it's hard for me to continue to not like Jackie because I can see where she's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can see that too, like coming in, and you might think that Veronica is friends with Wallace, or Wallace is friends with Veronica because they were once romantic, or they think it's going to be romantic. And I think that's an assumption that we have, is that if a guy and a girl are friends, like in this heterosexual biased world, right, that they must, it's going to end up in romantic relationship at some point. And that is
Right.
never the case with Wallace and Veronica, which we talked about last episode. And I completely 100% appreciate that. But
Right.
it's almost as if because of the macchiato interaction that they already had a distaste for each other.
Right.
So coming in and being like, oh, you want to date my best friend? Oh, you're the guy I want to date's best friend. Like you can see them both questioning it. And maybe because of that negative experience that they're not able to think a little bit more clearly, like, oh, maybe I should get to know this person, or this person's new to this school, just like Wallace was a year ago. So maybe there's other ways to communicate. But they don't really have a good run, Jackie and Veronica.
No, they don't.
No,
not even close.
Not even close. But I remember the episode where Jackie's credit card had been stolen. And so Veronica was helping her, probably because, if I remember correctly, that Wallace asked her to. And
that's the only reason.
Well, Veronica, I do think, enjoys a mystery. There have been times when Weevil comes up and is like, I need your help. And then he doesn't say anything. And she stands there. She's like, oh, you got my curiosity. What's going on?
Uh-huh. So, yeah, and he knows it.
Yeah, she likes a good mystery. So that might be the way to exploit Veronica, is to come in with a real good mystery, right?
Right.
That she can solve, right? And so she's helping Jackie. And so in that time, they share some secrets with each other. And then they discover that perhaps a local psychic might have something to do with it. And so Veronica goes on the show to kind of interact with this woman. And Jackie has given the secret that Veronica shared with her to the psychic, and the psychic shared that information in front of the studio audience. And it's like it's like public access television, but it's also like the in thing to watch for all these high school students at Neptune High. Right. And so Jackie basically humiliates Veronica. And so that doesn't really endear Veronica to Jackie.
No, I feel like that would piss me off as well.
Yeah, because it's like, what are you going to do? And Wallace then gets between his best friend and the girl that he's dating over like what's going on. But Jackie is essentially upset because when she was first seeing Wallace, she was also seeing other guys, and she would bring him to Java Hut. So Veronica would see these other guys she was dating, and that upset Jackie enough to spill the beans about her secret, which was like using some boob cream to make her boobs bigger, I think, in middle school.
Yeah, because someone said it would work.
Yeah, and I guess when you're 11 or 12, you're really hoping, you believe everything. You're like, yeah, this better work.
Yeah, this is totally going to work. Someone said
it. Yeah. And then Jackie is also upset because Wallace spends more time with Veronica. And she does say to him something along the lines that Wallace should be trying to impress the lady that he's trying to date. And Wallace says something like, if she asks me for help, I'm going to come through because that's what she'd do for me. And so, but they end up having, Wallace and Veronica end up having in a fight after Jackie spread the secrets, and also discovering at the same time that Wallace has met his biological dad, who he had really no idea about. And so Wallace is going through a lot, and maybe Jackie is not the biggest fish to fry in the situation. And maybe more about his dad being there should be the focus of him and Veronica's conversations, right?
Yeah.
And so they end up in a fight, and Wallace disappears for several episodes. No Wallace.
No Wallace. Wallace is in Chicago.
Oh, he's gone. And it's really sad because Veronica is a lone wolf. I mean, I think she can very much go into that mode, but she needs friends, and she needs Wallace to be able to cope with things. She needs Wallace to help her. She needs Wallace just to be not Veronica.
Yeah. She's alone.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that I think there was a quote that I was reading, and it was, she was emailing him every day.
Yeah.
And she said how sad it is to have someone's email and like be connected with them, but never hear anything back and know that you're not connected.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it's like we're so far away from people a lot of the times in terms of distance, but computers and technology can bring us so much closer together. And so
Mhm.
even when we're at a great distance, so Wallace is in Chicago, she's in California. He could have wrote back and he
Right.
decided not to for whatever reasons, right? And
Right.
I think that's a really good point is like we have access to people or, like thinking now with all the social media, if that season of the show took place now, what if he had
Right.
like posted on Facebook or on Twitter or he was Instagramming or something like that, but he wasn't
Right.
specifically responding to her. And
Right.
maybe that can be even more helpful or hurtful knowing like your best friend does not want to talk to you.
Right. Especially since, I mean, we haven't talked about this yet, but when he comes back, there's a whole another small plot line that happens, but you find out that he was doing some pretty awesome things while he was in Chicago and hanging out with some uh, new people. So that would have been incredibly hard for her to see
Yeah.
as she's going on with her life, not knowing what's happening, not knowing where he's going. But then if we were in this era and she would see him posting all over Facebook and Instagram and Twitter about the great time he's having, that would have made it 500 times worse.
Oh yeah, it reminds me of like FOMO, like the fear of missing out. Like
Mm-hmm.
you miss out on your friend and there can be a lot of jealousy that like he has other friends now so he doesn't need you and so then
Mm-hmm.
it's rejection and it would be another hit to her understanding of trust which is already barely holding on by a string, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
her dad that I think is the reason why that never
Right.
breaks, but because he's the most reliable person in her life. But then also,
Who's your daddy?
yeah, who's your daddy? One of my favorite lines ever. Who's your dad? I hate
Yep.
when you say that.
Yep.
Oh, dads, they're great. But
They
Wallace is
are.
the other person that is super reliable. So I think that's something else. It's like maybe she might expect that from Duncan or Logan or Mac or Meg, but like not Wallace. Wallace
Right.
is that try and true friend who is always there. And he said that, like, he said that to Jackie, I'm going to be there for
Mhm.
her. And Veronica said the same thing. Like, did you even have to ask? And then for him
Right.
to disappear, then he clearly, I think what ends up happening is he just needed some space. And
Yeah.
she does. She emails him every single day. And she says in a voiceover, instead of a best friend, I've got an email address that won't write back. And it makes it so much impersonal. Like if that best friend was behind that email and responding, she would feel far more connected.
Yeah.
And he surprises her. He returns home, and it's one of my favorite moments in the show.
Oh, I
And
remember crying.
they're sitting on the couch together, and they have like their arms around each other, like just like sitting there and talking and stuff like that. And it's just so, well, it's like the great way to start a new year, And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, they're back together.
It's
Yeah,
so
woo!
exciting.
And you're right. There's like another plot line, a small mystery. Well, I mean, it's a big mystery, but it's one
Mhm.
episode where something happened when Wallace is in Chicago. So he needs his Veronica's assistance to clear his name.
Mhm.
And actually, this is one of the brilliant things about this show. Oftentimes, the viewer is put in the dark, much like we don't know everything that's going on. And I just love
Right.
how they reveal different things. And so you see Jackie participate in a way that is really mean to Wallace. And you're like, see, another reason not to like Jackie.
Yep.
Another reason not to like Jackie. And then it turns out that she was doing that as part of helping Wallace clear his name. And so then I think we finally get to this moment where maybe the three of them are okay.
Maybe.
They can team up. They
Mhm.
know their roles. I think Veronica understands Jackie more. I think Jackie understands Veronica more. And I don't think that they want to put, well, let's hope not, put Wallace in.
Let's hope not.
Yeah. And so I think you see Veronica help Jackie later in other ways. And so, and you don't see too much problems come after that. And I think that's a
Yeah.
good thing, like that they've figured out how to make these relationships work. So
How to coexist in
Yes.
a happy way.
In a happy way. So, I mean, I think that's Veronica's most important friendship. And the most surprising friendship is, as I talked about with season one, is Weevil, and
Yes.
one of our favorite characters. And so he had a really interesting season two.
Yes. Yes, he did.
So I kind of see Weevil in season two as experiencing a lot of what Veronica did in terms of being rejected.
Yes.
And
Yes,
so,
most definitely.
yeah, he is the leader of the PCH or bike gang. He is on the bridge for Logan's beatdown, but he goes unconscious. He isn't there for when Felix is murdered, so he doesn't know everything that's happened. And you start to see sort of waves in the gang, where he's like not sure what happened, and another PCHer Thumper tells him about the night, but the question is that what really happened? And Eli starts to wonder if he's still in charge of the gang, which he says to all of them in a speech. He's like, am I still in charge? And it turns out that one of his gang members is working with the local Irish gang / mafia, the Fitzpatricks.
Those
Fitzpatricks causing all sorts of trouble for every single person on this
constantly.
Constantly. And so what ends up happening is he is completely rejected by his gang, where he's like kicked out of it completely. And so what are your thoughts about Weevil? Like what happened? So he gets kicked out. Like what feelings did you have about Weevil getting kicked out and what that might do to his understanding of himself and his friendship?
Right. Well, it's basically his entire identity.
Yes.
Is wrapped up in being the leader of the PCHers, and just his friends are his family, and they're more than his friends because that's what a gang is. A gang is family, whether it's something good or bad. So the fact that I do feel like it's a lot like what Veronica went through when she lost her mom, the 09ers.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a little bit more than that for him. Like, he doesn't have anything to do anymore. He doesn't have people to back him up constantly. He doesn't do fun things or get into trouble with anybody anymore. He's just on his own, and he lost his motorcycle.
Oh. What's a guy in a biker gang gonna do without a bike?
Exactly. So like he doesn't even have a way to get around anymore. So it's basically his entire world is gone.
I like how you said like it's his entire identity, and that maybe more so for him than maybe with Veronica was that this is his family. So he's not just rejected by the group of individuals that he is a leader of, he loses his friends and he loses family members. And so to be completely off on your own with no one, whereas like Veronica has, like, again, she always has Keith, but then, she has little connections with people and then she meets Wallace. But one of the things that they do have in common is not only are they rejected by their quote unquote gang of people, in this case for Veronica, it was the 09ers, for Eli, it was the PCHers. But then those people attack Eli and Veronica. So it's not even enough to like just sort of banish them out of the group. Like you're voted off the island, so to speak, you know, that then they are doing things to them intentionally to bully or to hurt their feelings and things like that. And there's an episode where they have like a winter carnival to raise money for the senior trip. And Eli takes, I think, his niece, and she's carrying around a balloon. She's super cute. And then a Thumper comes up and just punches the balloon and goes, "Oh, I thought it was your face." And so that might be threatening to not only Eli, but to the young girl that's with him. Like she's like 5 or 6, you know what I mean? And they're just taking her to the carnival with her Dora the Explorer backpack. Like she's just trying to
so cute
winter carnival life. Okay, folks.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things that happen. Like he's completely alienated from everyone. And so what ends up happening is much like Veronica having to piece together some connections, and truly what he's trying to do, much like Veronica did in season 1, figuring out who murdered Lily. He's trying to figure out who murdered his friend, brother, and co-gang member, Felix, what happened to him. And so at first, before he's completely kicked out of the gang, his gang kidnaps Logan and they beat him up, and Logan figures it out, and the two kind of come together. So when he's rejected from his group, you kind of see these like Weevil and Logan adventures, which we get just a taste of in season 1, you know, in a couple episodes. But here, you know, kind of teaming up with Logan, because if they figure out Logan's part of it, they might figure out what happened to Felix. And of course, that means working with Veronica so they can figure out what happened with Felix, who's working with the Fitzpatricks. And when you add in the PCHer gang and you add in the Irish Mafia, you add a whole level of danger that comes in season 2 that we didn't see in season 1.
It's so intertwined. Everything is.
Yeah, but I think what's really fascinating, though, and whether they intended to do it or not, is that Weevil essentially had a mere identical experience to what Veronica did in season 1. And maybe in some ways that lended to her helping him when he asked for it, and for their relationship, say, in season 3 and beyond. So Weevil, I think, is extremely important. Again, you might not assume that they'd be friends, but they are truly connected, and I think they live parallel lives.
Yes, they do.
I don't think they experience the same tragedies, but they both experience tragedy, so that makes them connected.
Right. It's crazy.
And speaking of tragedy,
yes.
Yeah, you're like, yes, what else could there be? Well, in the season, we have Meg, who we talked about, who is upset with Veronica and Duncan. And I think what becomes interesting in the season, and I'll just mention it here because it becomes a very important plot point to season 2. But like I said, my friend Courtney from Spoop Hour, we've sort of taken the Meg discussion over to the bonus episode so that we can talk about those relationships more in depth. Oh, well, I was looking at my notes, and yes, Meg dies. So I accidentally said death when I meant death because it was
We've already
foreshadowing.
discussed this, but spoiler alert. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was foreshadowing in a weird sort of communicative way.
It's fine. It's fine.
So one of the things is that she's in the coma, and Veronica discovers when she goes to visit Meg at the hospital that Duncan has been going every single day to see his ex-girlfriend who's in the coma. And that obviously presents some issues in their romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Yep. And
she's pregnant.
She is pregnant. She discovers that Meg is pregnant and Duncan is the father. And so that obviously puts even more of an exclamation point on perhaps the problems in Duncan and Veronica's relationship. But I think this presents a really interesting and tragic sort of view on friendship, where Veronica and Meg are not in a good spot. Meg is upset with Veronica. She's dating her ex-boyfriend. She is in the bus crash. Maybe because of Veronica. At a certain point, Veronica believes that she's the reason for the bus crash.
Yeah.
That Meg is in the coma. She's pregnant, but then she wakes up, and they are able to have a conversation where it's Duncan, Veronica, and Meg. And she communicates to both of them that her parents, and this is another mystery, but her parents are abusive.
Spiritually abusive?
Yes. And she's afraid, like they want her to put the baby up for adoption, but the parents want to have a say of where the baby goes. Yes. And Meg is afraid that the baby is going to it's going to be more of an abusive route. And that's not what she wants to see for her baby. And then unfortunately, as I've already foreshadowed, Meg dies from complications from the crash and from being in the coma, but the baby survives. Yeah. And this is another super neat mystery, much like with Jackie being involved with the Wallace's clearing his name. We go through this whole rigmarole of, is Veronica helping Duncan leave the country with the baby, or is she not? Does she know nothing? Everyone believes she does, but does she? And then it turns out that with the help of another PI who is very sort of
I love him.
Describe Vinny.
Oh, Vinny. I always forget about him. He's so funny,
good,
and he's so good.
But he's just kind of like the chachi douchey version of Keith.
Yep.
Maybe not as good as Keith, and he has minimal role, but he leaves a mark when he's on any screen he's on in the show and in the movie.
Yes, he does.
But he helps and gets Duncan across the border. And Duncan ends up paying him, and we kind of see this mystery come about and how they're able to get Duncan and the baby across the border. But that's it. Meg has passed away, and Duncan is gone with the baby, never to come back. So
can I just say that her boyfriend is gone, and she loves him so much that she is helping him vanish.
Yes.
And I would love to see this storyline actually do something with. I think it would be really cool.
Well, spoiler alert, I don't think we see Duncan in season 3.
No. Not in season 3, but season 4.
Yeah, the new one. Yeah.
Yes,
I haven't rewatched the movie, so I was like, wait, Duncan wasn't in that.
Yeah. Nope, he wasn't.
Let's see the daughter. Let's see Duncan.
Yeah, could be...
That would be so exciting.
Right, because now we're not just Team Piz, Team Logan. We can be Team Duncan again if people wanted to. I'm Team Logan all the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's going to be interesting. I wonder if all the people that are going to be on the show are Team Logan. Everyone else is not allowed. No, just kidding.
Well, and then Piz is on Glow.
Oh, is he? I haven't watched that show.
Oh, you would love it. Has great from friendship standpoint, but he's on Glow. So is he in the new season?
I believe he is. I don't know. Okay. Actually, I don't know. I take that back. But I'm sure they can get him in there. I can't wait. Okay. It's a couple weeks.
I'm so excited.
All our answers will be solved. But some people we may or may not see. I just wanted to mention, I like to talk about Gia because she's a large part, and also Mac with Beaver because they become a large part of the storyline. And to kind of recap what happens at the end of the season and then see what you think about friendships. But we meet the new girl, Gia, who really tries hard to fit in. She really tries to think about what she's wearing and what she's doing. And I think she does okay making friends, but she's popular, right? She gets in there with the overliners, no problem. But she really took some time to be thoughtful and aware of how she might be able to fit into this crowd. And so she seems very flexible in terms of who she is so that she can fit in and be adaptable so that she can be in a new situation, which I thought was an interesting take on friendship here. And so
and even she's very honest about that too.
Yes, she tells them, I didn't know if you're wearing this. I don't know if you're
I love her.
Yeah, but Gia has Veronica over for a sleepover. Girls' night. I love it. She walks into Gia's house, and her dad again is Buddy, the guy, the city supervisor. And she takes Veronica's things, and they have a spot to put everything. And they have their names, Gia's stuff goes here, Buddy's stuff goes here, her little brother Rodney, his stuff goes here. And then they have a spot for a guest. And Veronica says in a voiceover, they kill their guests and they take their shoes.
I love it.
I think it's she's trying to make connection with Gia. And so she goes over there, but I think she gets sort of a weird vibe from their house. Immediately. Right. But we see Veronica help Gia throughout the season, right? Someone is stalking her. Then there's something else that's going on. And one of the things though, and I'll be interested, do you feel like Veronica and Gia, they might not be, I wouldn't say they're friends, right? They're not close friends, but do you think that their acquaintance friendship is genuine?
I honestly do, because I think that Gia is very open and honest. And she also sees the world through rose-colored glasses.
Oh yeah.
So 100, so much. But I do think that because of Gia's genuine self and honesty, I think that Veronica really does like her, even though they don't have time to get close.
Yeah.
Very much. I think that they could, if given the development that they would go through.
Yeah, and I think maybe we see more of that later in the movie, for example. But I think you're right. They didn't have time for the development, and I think that happens in high school where you know all these people, but you don't exactly know them really well because you ran in different circles or you did different things. And I definitely think that is the case, and I agree 100% with you that because Gia seems so honestly genuine and just she's even though she's an 09er, I do think she is nicer than some of the 09ers that we see. She's not Meg, let's be real.
Not Meg, no.
And she's not Jackie, and Jackie isn't an 09er, but as we talked about, Jackie is a little bit more mean-spirited. Gia's doesn't seem to have, she has a mean bone in her body, but it's not always there.
Right.
But I do think the way that Veronica comes to know Gia is not always honest. Like,
no,
I feel
not at
like
all.
she's using Gia to get into her house, to check the email of her dad, or to do these sorts of things. And I think that when she is asked for her help by Gia, she's doing it to get answers for the case as it relates to the bus crash and this, that, and the other thing. And so I think that in some cases, Veronica has an agenda going in. What I like about that, though, is that we often go in with an agenda and maybe we're just like, oh, I mean, this will be fine, or this, that, the other thing. And then we end up really liking the person. And then we're like, oh, okay.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Shoot, I wasn't supposed to do this.
Yeah. Or maybe just like that's where the development starts, that maybe people weren't expecting to be friends or wanting to be friends, and then they end up liking each other. But what we do discover is that Gia's dad, Buddy, has some major issues.
Yeah.
One, he calls Keith to a hotel room where he has an unconscious hooker, and then he blames it on Keith. And then Keith answers questions of a reporter, ends up in a newspaper. And so actually Gia and Veronica do have some difficulties when Gia feels like Keith is putting her dad down, and Veronica feels the same about Gia's dad.
Right.
But what we discover is that, in fact, Buddy, that weird vibe we're getting from the home is some weird controlling stuff. And so
with the little brother.
Oh, with Rodney, who what, didn't he like spill water on the floor, and then he got like in some extreme trouble, really abusive. And so she goes over to study at Gia's house so that she can get on Buddy's home computer and get some emails. And basically Buddy has molested boys on a baseball team that he coached. And the janitor who was stalking Gia, which Veronica helped with, was one of those boys. Two of the other boys were killed on the bus. And then the final kid has been hard to find. Which leads us to sort of the recap of the show. Overall, we learned that Buddy molested the boys on the team, and we discovered that Beaver Casablancas was one of them.
Yes.
Now, Beaver and Max are dating around the winter carnival, and one of the things that we see is that Mac really likes Beaver, and he seems to really like her too. Like, I think that was a genuine interest, but he has a lot of difficulties with intimacy. And Mac asks Veronica about it. So one of the things that we see is their relationship deepen because Mac asks her about sex and shouldn't there be some under the bra action after 4 months. And I love it. Veronica's like, are you asking me because I'm the sluttiest person you know? Slutty is your word. I was going to say more worldly. So I love that interaction. But they have a number of conversations about what's going on with Beaver. And then Beaver gets really upset when he finds out. Well, first off, he just gets upset that Mac is concerned about his issues of intimacy. And then he gets really upset that Veronica knows anything. But Veronica is the one that discovers that Beaver is one of those boys who was molested. And he is, in fact, the person who blew up the school bus. Which then he set a bomb off via his cell phone from the limo that drove behind the bus, and from hitting a number, there was an explosion, and then the bus flew over the cliff. And he also then blows up Buddy's plane, which Veronica thinks her father is on.
Yes. And we have a conclusion to one of the plots of season 1.
Yes.
Yes, that
go for it.
was he was the one who raped Veronica.
Yes.
At that party.
So Beaver Casablancas, not anyone's favorite.
No, he's just a prized possession, that boy.
No, he's not at all.
No, not at all. No.
So it's the end of the school year, and they have a party at the hotel which we haven't even got into, but like Duncan lived in the hotel for a while. Now Logan lives in a hotel. Who lets high school boys live in hotels and then have
ones where their dads have fled the country because of the IRS?
And murder and
murder and everything.
Yeah.
So why not?
I was just like, wow, isn't their money frozen because of all their issues? But anyways, so
apparently not.
So Beaver gets a room for him and Mac, and they're gonna have sex for the first time, and he's unable to do it. And at this point, Veronica knows that it's Beaver, and so she's trying to get a hold of Mac, and she can't. Mac gets in the shower. Beaver sees the text messages that Veronica sent Mac. He texts her back via Mac's phone and says, "Meet me on the roof." So Veronica goes up there thinking she's meeting Mac. Beaver takes all of Mac's clothes, so she can't leave the room or anything, and she has no idea what's happened until later. And they arrive on the roof. You have Veronica, who is now being confronted by Beaver, who has a gun. And when they're having the confrontation, she's able to text Logan, who comes up and he helps, right? So he's the one that saves Veronica from Beaver in this case. And Beaver ends up, I wouldn't say jumping off the roof. He falls off of it intentionally.
Yes, he jumps backward.
He jumps backwards, yeah, exactly. But one interesting point that I think from this exchange about friendship is that when Logan enters the scene, he yells, "Beaver!" like to stop him. And Beaver says, "My name is Cassidy." He has never been called by the name that was given to him at birth, right? He's always called Beaver, like some sort of insult. And he goes, "My name is Cassidy." And then Logan calls him Cassidy. He goes to try to jump off the building, and Logan tells him not to. And Beaver says, "Why not?" And Logan doesn't have an answer. And that's when he falls off the building. And one of the things I would say in season 1 and season 2, we see Beaver in season 1. We see more of him in season 2. But he is Dick's little brother. He doesn't seem to have a lot of friends. He is often razzed by his brother. He's razzed by his brother's friends. He's razzed by his dad. His dad treats him like he's not a boy or a man, like he's some sort of lady in comparison to Dick. He gets beat around by the local gang and more. And I just feel like what he did was obviously all sorts of wrong, right? He's And one of the things to consider, though, is he was molested by Buddy. He's getting revenge. He feels rejected. You know, there's so many things going on. I think it makes it more of a complicated situation. But I think that perhaps if his family treated him differently, or maybe they would have known, or he would have felt comfortable saying that he was molested, or maybe if he didn't feel so rejected, like it's not, people's actions aren't all dependent on these things. But I think Beaver is a very complicated person who's experienced a lot of trauma. And see, Veronica has experienced that trauma. Eli's, experienced trauma. Logan has experienced trauma.
Right.
None of them responded in the way Beaver did. So it's just tragic all the way around, right?
And it makes me wonder if he had a head injury when he was younger.
Well, oh God. Okay. And if you listen to My Favorite Murder and True Crime, you know that.
Send him back.
Send him back. Yeah. That serial killers might have some head injuries. And but he was a mass killer. He killed everyone at one time, the bus, right? But he also did kill the man that was washed ashore with Veronica's name written on it. In fact, it's Beaver who wrote Veronica's name on his hand.
And then he blew up Buddy's plane.
Oh, good God. But the good news is this, folks. Okay. Well, I mean, just as a wrap up thought here, like there's a lot going on with Beaver, and there's so many, and that doesn't even go into account for anything that might have been genetic or something experience of mental health concerns and that sort of thing. But he did, there's nothing good that comes from this, right? You have the boys who've been molested, you have the kids that were killed on the bus, you have the people who were killed on the plane, you have Veronica was raped, you have there's just no good end to this. And so, I don't even know what to say about it, but I do think in terms of, I'm not saying friendship solves everything, but I certainly think rejection can be pretty powerful to people's mindset. And if he didn't feel like he had anything to live for, maybe then he's more willing to blow up a school bus, blow up a plane,
Right. He doesn't have anyone. He's alone. Why not make other people feel the same way he does?
Exactly. But the good news is that Keith was not on the plane and he did not die. Yes.
Sorry, I'm clapping. And
no, you're fine. We can hear it. And then we didn't talk about it, but on the same night, Aaron Eccles, who was acquitted of murdering Lily, which is complete, absolute bullshit.
Right.
Is sexing it up with Kendall Casablancas, who is executed, not Kendall. Aaron Eccles is executed by the Kane software security guy, Clarence Weedman.
Yes, Clarence.
Yes, Clarence. We see Clarence call Duncan, who is now in Australia with he and Meg's baby, to tell him, and he goes, it's done. And so the season ends with the graduation from Neptune High School, Keith and Veronica heading to New York City, but Kendall Casablanca asks Keith to take an emergency job. So Veronica is off to New York City by herself. And we're missing 90,000 other things that happen, but I think that's just...
Please, everyone, watch it again.
It's so good.
You'll see something new every time.
But it's definitely, I think, far more complicated than the first season, right?
Most definitely.
But what do you think about season 2?
It was very dramatic.
Yes.
It was just so dramatic. It was like Grey's Anatomy dramatic.
So you liked it then?
I absolutely loved it. And I didn't want to, it's one of those things where these are one of the things that the series you don't want to end because you want to see it continue to happen and what's going to happen next and who are they going to introduce and how are they going to fit in with the storyline and with the art of the characters. It was a lot. We did have a lot of resolution, but at the same time, there are so many questions.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad it wasn't the last one.
Yeah, that's a good mystery. Yeah, we have season 3 coming. And so we get, a new mystery, if you will. So, but yeah, we still have the same characters, but they're graduated from high school. So what's coming next is what happens after high school. And I think that is always interesting to see. So I'm also glad that they had another season and another season that's coming out in July.
Yes.
So before we get to season 4, though, what would you take away most from season 2 in terms of friendship?
Friendship. Find your people. You see this quote all over, but it's find your tribe and love them hard.
Yes.
And Veronica goes through a lot with her tribe. Her basic tribe is Wallace.
Yes.
But through all of that, they're both very selfish people. But through all of that, as much as we love Veronica, she's very selfish. Through all of that, they constantly remind each other what they mean to each other and love each other as much as they can. And I feel like that right there, and even Keith does whatever he needs to do to show his daughter love and show Wallace love a lot too.
Yeah. For sure.
So I think it's find who are your people and love them as much as you can.
Yeah. And I think that what we can gather from that is that, like, for example, when Wallace disappears, like even a message that was said, I'm okay, I'll be in contact when I'm ready, would have gone a long way for someone who is, in fact, your tribe. But they might be figuring out if still, like, is this my person? Are these my people? Yeah. And the other thing is to consider, like, I think it's Mindy Kaling's character from the Mindy Project that talks about the levels, the tiers of friendship.
Uh-huh.
And so it's one of those things like Wallace is like her best friend, and then I would say Mac too, but I think Wallace
Mhm.
and Veronica are closer.
Yep.
But then you might have a next layer of like Meg, before Meg passed away,
Mhm.
and maybe even Logan at times, and Weevil,
Yeah.
sorts of things, and then you might have another tier of people. And so one of the things is to stay connected to those people if they mean something to you, like you said, like love them hard,
Mhm.
or love them much. But also, it's remember that you have friends, right? Like I think
Right.
that's one of Veronica's biggest missteps is that and you say selfish, and I agree, but I also think that she has a really hard time with trust, which makes
Oh,
you
yeah.
focus more on yourself and
Yep.
keeping to yourself and keeping that lone wolf sort of status. And I think that as Eli would see, or anyone else who's had this lone wolf situation, is that
Mhm.
when you have more of that tribe, or you have more of the tiers of friends, whether it be like, best friends, close friends, acquaintances, that people are there for us. We can't
Right.
help every single person like that athlete that asked Veronica, but there are people that we can
Right.
help and that can help us, and we should take advantage of that. And I don't mean advantage in terms of manipulation, but just meaning remember that we do have friends,
Right.
and there are people who are looking out for us, and we don't have to do everything ourselves, and we don't have to be alone, because in
Right.
this season, in this example, and I realize there's so many factors
Mhm.
that go into it, and there's so many different situations, but it didn't work out well for Beaver, right? That
No.
he was completely on his own, and that
Mhm.
Weevil, when he was completely on his own, was not good for him either. And so
Right.
we just have to remember that there are people out there for us,
Yes.
and
So
we're
much.
out there for people too. So then we talked about hoping to see Duncan
Mhm.
storyline, but what else are you looking forward to, or what do you think is going to happen in season 4?
Um, I think that Dick is going to become more of a major character.
Yes.
Just, I that's an inkling I have. And their relationship in real life, and how that affects his character on the show. I think it's going to
Yeah.
become more apparent. And I feel like, and I love Dumb Dick.
Yeah.
Um, but I would like to see him mature just a little bit. I mean,
Aw.
still have his like childish ways, because I don't think that's ever going to go, because he
Yeah.
had a horrible life and he reverts to his childish ways.
Yeah.
But I think that his character development, I think, is going to be super important for some reason. I don't know why I think that.
I think that's
Um,
really fascinating. I love that, because I think that seeing the same old Dick, although would be fun,
mhm. It
but
gets
so much has changed, right? Like,
right,
I mean, they've had their 10-year reunion, and I'm not sure how much time is supposed to have passed at this point. I mean,
right,
I could probably find out online, or we'll
right.
find out soon enough in the first episode. But yeah, I like that. Like, keep the childlike stuff at heart, but then
Mhm.
mature a little bit. Still have that wittiness,
Right.
but mature a
And
little bit.
we saw that a little bit, I think, in this episode, like this season, he had a lot of vulnerable, not a lot of vulnerable moments, but he had a
Yeah,
few vulnerable moments, especially when it had to do with Beaver and him
yeah,
feeling lost and stuff like that.
yeah.
And
We
I
see
feel
more
like,
in season 3.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I feel like I'd like to see a little bit more of
Yeah.
that side of Dick Casablancas.
Yes. Oh, that's good. I love that. Because I said last time, I can't wait for Dick Casablanca's shenanigans, but I also
Right.
like what you say that, is he going to be completely the same, which I think we would all enjoy, but I think there is
Right.
something exciting about him being like, you know, a 40-year-old Dick now,
Right.
or however old they're supposed to be, 20, 30
Right.
something. I don't know.
I think they're gonna go with the timeline,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
If not just a couple years down the road, but I feel
Yeah.
like they stuck with the timeline with the movie, so I feel like
Yes.
season 4 is gonna continue with that.
I sure hope so. Yeah. Leslie wagered that it was based on a book that Rob Thomas had written, and I have not read that book, but it's on my way because it will be a giveaway for Best Forevers. I have both Rob Thomas's
Woo!
books on the way, so that's exciting. But so I don't know everything that might happen if that's the case, or if it'll be
Mhm.
closely to that book that Leslie was referring to. But I'll be interested in seeing. Oh gosh, okay. I'll do it. I sure hope that Team Logan
Right? Yes.
is
Yes,
together.
yes.
I don't know if I want to do a are we, aren't we anymore. Like, at some point Jim and Pam got married, folks.
Right.
But
exactly.
then it's also like
Leslie and Ben.
Yes. Thank you. Or I would be interested if that's not the case and there is are we or aren't we, and we're going back into the pool of team whoever.
Right.
I wouldn't mind to see Leo back in the mix.
Officer Leo.
Uh,
He's so handsome.
he is so different than when he plays Schmidt. Like when he's
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You're not attractive or charming at all. And then I'm like as Leo, and I'm like, oh hey, how you?
He's more dapper and like authoritative, and you're like, yes, sir, but not a new girl.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. We only have a few more weeks until that can happen, and I can't wait to see what you think about what happens on the show. I'll be bothering you online to see what you
I'll be able to let you know.
Okay. So the next episode will cover season 3 with my friend from graduate school, Maya, and she's going to join me to break it down, all the friendships. And oh yeah, we finally got the addition of Piz. Team Piz, folks, represent. And we finally get to see that. And I think that really adds in an interesting layer because of his friendship with Wallace. So lots to dig in here, lots of continuing relationships, some new relationships. So Maya and I are going to have a lot to talk about. So Meredith, thank you so much for coming on and talking about one of our favorite fandoms. It's so good to have you on.
It was so good to be on, here.
Yes. Well, I can't wait for you to come back on so that we can talk about friendship in Wayne's World.
Oh, I will be there.
Yeah, I feel like we could just recite the entire movie and that's just the episode.
That's it.
All right, so until next time, friends, get deep into nostalgia with your favorite TV shows, because without our TV friend characters and because without our friends, who would we be? Thanks for listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com, and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.
Dumb and Busted Pop Quiz Hotshot.
Kay, hit me.
A pervy arsonist who has a weird thing for men's shoes.
Episode 5, Fire Starter.
Yes. Twins who box for work and murder for fun.
Episode 42, Cray Cray.
Yes. Last one. Creepiest creeper who terrorizes a family with handwritten letters.
Episode 39, Watch Out.
Hell yeah. For true crime stories of insane stupidity and exceptional genius, listen and subscribe to Dumb and Busted on iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts.